Who's awake? We still awake? Are we good? We've been here all day, or maybe you just showed up. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you with us. Okay, so I have got some powerhouse creatives with us here. So hopefully you're excited to learn about content creation, not only in video, but some of the other formats, storytelling, all of this fun stuff. So let me start with me. I'm Sheena Fowler. I am the Vice President of Innovation for the Orlando Economic Partnership, and I'm also the Orlando Film Commissioner. So I work with projects around the region to recruit television series, commercials, feature films, and then we make it work. We work with small businesses, we work with the community to permit everything. So we've got two major projects in our region right now, The Right Stuff, that will come out next year on National Geographic, and we also have Oprah Winfrey Network's David Makes Man, and if you saw Moonlight, it's the same creators who came in for a television series. So you can find that now on OWN, and that is a completely Orlando-based production. You can see what we do best at work on the big screen, and it's really exciting. Now, these friends, new friends, we've had so much fun chatting about this. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and then we're gonna have some fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Danny Miller. I own Studio Say So, and we are a corporate video production company. We work with big companies to help them tell their story. Some of our clients in town include the Orlando Magic, Lake Nona, Advent Health, Rollins College, UCF, Orlando Economic Partnership. And what we do is we just partner with companies to tell stories, everything from TV commercials and brand spots, documentary pieces, and even internal training type of stuff as well.
Hi, I'm Frank Deli, and I work for Spectrum, and we have a national in-house creative agency, and we work with our ad sales clients doing creative, but we also work with outside businesses who aren't clients to help them with their creative. And prior to my role with Spectrum, I was the corporate director of creative for Bright House Media Strategies.
Hey everyone, my name is Walter Fuego. I'm the founder of Studio 17 Creative. We're a digital content agency. We're the marketing team that your business has always wanted. So we typically are outsourced for companies who want to do big things and roll out big strategies. We use film, photography, graphic design, and podcasting to help communicate your message.
Cool, thank you. Frank, let's start with you. Working for the company that you do, you get to see a wide variety of trends in this industry. You are at all these different conferences and working with a variety of different contacts. So tell us, what are some of these trends that you've been seeing? What are some things you can share with us today?
So a couple of weeks ago, I got to attend the Association of National Advertisers conference at the Rosen Center, and got to hear from the chief marketing officers from Disney, Parks and Resorts, Target, Chipotle, Ally Bank, SAP, Dunkin', and a few others. And there were a few things related to brand that were kind of common, in common with each of these companies. And one of the things that they said was that your brand needs to be inclusive, and it's not anymore a nice to do or a nice to have. It's something that you must do. You must be inclusive, and you must reflect the community. The other point was that brands need to be authentic. Younger demos like millennials and Gen Z don't really have a lot of faith or trust in brands. So you really do need to be authentic and transparent with your customers. And then the third point was that brands need to have some type of social involvement and social responsibility. With Disney, it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation as an example. With Chipotle, they have a sustainability officer. And with Chipotle, they wear those disposable food prep gloves. So they were throwing those out, and they decided to recycle those and turn them into garbage bags. So they did a video on that and how that happens. And one of their goals is to be one of the more highly sustainable companies in the United States. So there are things like that stood out.
Cool. Danny, you mentioned the clients you've been working with. a big part of what you do, having worked with you before, you refine the storytelling process. How have you helped some of your clients get through that?
It's a good question. I think no matter the client, big or small, what it comes down to for our team is that you're always solving a problem. So it doesn't matter if they need to make a TV commercial that's going to attract new people to their product. It could be they're trying to train a huge team internally every year. What you need to do is find the problem first and then work backwards towards a solution. So if you make an amazing, like Steven Spielberg-esque short film for a company, but it does not train their team and that was the goal, you failed. And so our goal is to have the right solution for the right problem, and that's the approach we take with every client. So regardless of if it's a little client working on something new and interesting and small, or somebody massive just sort of reinforcing something they've done a million times before, work backwards from the problem to the solution, and then make sure that whatever you're creating solves the problem, or else you failed.
Bet that's easier to do than you think. So Walter, you're working with companies on a few different mediums. How are you helping them determine whether this is something that's a video project, a podcast? How do you determine that with them?
Good question. I think people, once you know exactly who you're talking to, then you know what you need to say and or use to talk to that person. I think people broadcast instead of nanocasting, you know, this is for everyone. So I just need something that's going to talk to a ton of people, when you should really niche all the way down and talk to just a specific group of people and people like that person. And then once you decide, okay, I'm speaking to this person who does this, who lives here, who makes this much, then you can decide, okay, do I need to use a podcast to do that? Do I need to use video to do that? Do I need to use, you know, graphics to do that? Do I need a landing page? Do I need to take them through a sequence? So we decide what we're going to use once we decide who it's for.
Cool. All right, let's get nerdy.
Yes.
What are some of your favorite tools to help get these stories across?
I mean, we use a ton of different tools. Do you mean like literal, like what software?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we edit in Premiere. Mackenzie, my production manager, is a complete nerd with production management tools. So we use Airtable, we use Basecamp. I think we've become sort of obsessed with the details of the job to make sure that the creative stuff doesn't get encumbered. So deadlines and budgets and all that stuff really matter if you're running a small business, to make sure that you're actually, you know, making money so you can make another video, and to make sure that your client's happy because it's on time and on budget.
And I'm sure your clients always come with plenty of time.
It's always tons of time. It's tons of time and it's tons of money every time. And that's what's great about being a small company. Yeah, yeah, and that's what people love. Yeah, exactly.
Well, with us, we post everything. We use Adobe Creative Cloud for everything, and we're transitioning to storing everything in the cloud and getting everything off of you know, computers and offices. And because we're such a large company, we also look for scalability. So our library is licensed for all of our music library is licensed for all of our offices. And same thing with all of our field gear, all of our production gear. We make sure that it's consistent. Like just here in Florida, we have crews in Melbourne, Daytona, Orlando, Lakeland, Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota. And so we make sure that all of those offices, both in the field and in the office and post, are equipped exactly the same. So when our folks go and help other teams on shoots, they know how to use all the gear because it's the same for every office.
What about you, Walter?
Project management. I was just talking to him about it. I don't know if anybody here a Notion user. Notion? Nobody? Wow. YouTube Notion. It combines everything that you're probably using for, you know, storage, team management, project management, all those things. It's an all-in-one tool. And I'm a big nerd when it comes to like software. So we transitioned everything from Excel, documents, and Trello all into Notion, and it's all collaborative. And then we use a thing called Station, which is, oh man, you gotta come talk to me later about that. because I could get into that. Now, as far as social media content creation, which I know is a big thing for a lot of people, and a lot of people who come to us, their problem is kind of based around, hey, we need to create more content, we need to be able to do it fast, and I need to be able to do it affordably. Canva, and we have a Canva masterclass that we're putting out soon, but Canva is an incredible tool if you want to be able to be here. If you create a template that is branded with your brand, and you can just add a photo of being here, and then it has your brand overlaid, you can post that content, and then that is always going to keep you relevant to whatever tribe or audience that you have.
It's like you knew the questions that were going to happen. Weird.
It's like you sent it to us in an email.
It's amazing. Really good segue. Let's talk about audience, right? Because that's the do or die. That's where we know. How do you help your clients determine the best audience?
Well, with us, it's important to find out who your audience is, who you're marketing to, and you can't be all things to everybody. So what we tell the businesses that we work with, and we say, you know, focus on your core. Don't focus on the A's and Z's. And the example I use is if you're a car dealer and your Fiestas are the rebate dogs that nobody's buying, but your biggest seller is F-150s, advertise your F-150s. You know, don't waste your time and effort on the Fiestas. So focus on your core. Again, determine who your core audience is, and then if you have access to research, you know, demographic research about that audience, that will help inform your creative. So the more you can use data to inform your creative, the more opportunity you'll have for that to be successful.
People like to buy from brands and other people that they trust. So if we take the mindset of not looking at them as customers and more looking at them as an audience and build that community, and then show up to that community and consistently feed that community and not constantly try to sell them things, you have a better opportunity of converting, you know, that email into a paying customer, into a fan, into, you know, an ambassador that's going to bring in more customer, and that flywheel just kind of keeps going. So if we focus less on I need more customers and focus more on I need to build a community and build an audience and then show up for that audience, then we would have, you know, better opportunities as far as the bottom line goes.
Can I add something to that too? Yeah, about you know, so much business is transactional, and there's so many choices for purchase decisions. What Walter said is key. It's about building community and building brand loyalty. And so when you're sharing content on social media or on your website, provide value for those customers. Don't always be selling something. Provide value. Get active in the community. You know, have that social responsibility and share that on your social media channels, and build, you know, that book Raving Fans. You know, build raving fans.
I mean, I think you guys covered a lot of it, but I think even what you said before makes a lot of sense, and is something that we try to apply. Is the world is full of niche markets now. Like, think about, we all listen to different stuff on Spotify. 25 years ago, we all listened to the same stuff on the radio, right? And that's the same way that we try to apply for almost all of our clients. Is you're targeting a specific market, do everything you can to target that market and ignore all the noise outside of it. So, you know, everybody's obsessed with going viral. It's not really a thing. like it's near impossible to do, and especially when you're trying to sell something. So you're much more likely if you're like your kid falls over and you catch it to go viral than you are if you're like your kid falls over and you film that and then he's like, buy my product. You know, like people are not, and that's the other thing, is people are so sensitive to being sold to and being marketing feeling like they're your friend. So, I mean, our approach is pretty straightforward. You're either trying to tell a story or you're trying to sell something to them, and I think that you have to kind of decide which one of those things you're doing before you do it. Because it feels dishonest if you're secretly selling. And I think especially young consumers can really sniff that out.
Okay. Production, at least in my career, has been a series of problem solving. Give us an example of one of the toughest projects you worked on. How did you source through that problem and deliver what you needed to?
Oh, well, one of the things that was toughest for us when a couple of years ago, Charter, Time Warner, and Bright House all came together as a single company, and I was in charge of testimonials, client testimonials for the company, and that was a difficult project because we had marketing teams all across the country and production teams all across the country, and we had to deliver a style of testimonial. We were working with clients all across the country, so it had to look like an integrated campaign, and all of that had to be consistent. So that was a difficult project to manage, but what we did was we put together a playbook for everybody involved. So everybody knew on the marketing side, working with the clients, what they needed to do in advance to get everything set up for production, what production needed to do in advance of the shoot as far as like site survey, people we would need to hire like makeup or book craft services for the day, things like that, and then a whole a section of the playbook on post-production to make sure that everything was color graded the right way, and then conceptually what these things needed to be like. They needed to be sincere and believable, and we didn't want them endorsing our company. We wanted the clients to tell their story, and it was kind of inferred that their success was due to their relationship with us. So that was the most important thing, was making sure that all of these were believable and sincere, and so kind of handling the quality control on all of that.
We recently were part of a 3-unit team that we shot with Amazon. It's like these stories are almost like you're bragging a little bit. I don't want to sound.
I'm gonna brag a lot.
Okay, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. So Amazon was sending 3 freight planes of supplies to the Bahamas for relief. So we were part of a 3-unit team in Tampa, in Orlando, and they were flying to the Bahamas. So we had to shoot all this content and turn it around almost inside of the camera. It was a ton of emails, and they were like calling, "Are y'all done shooting?" "Yes." "Are you done editing?" We just finished shooting. Just now. And so they were kind of like on us like that. So it was really difficult to turn around something with your typical quality when it's like normally this takes 3-4 days for us to even get like a good first cut that we're proud of. But it was like, no, just put it together and send it to us. So that was really difficult because you have to kind of curve your own pride and stuff like that. Because with your brand, it's like if I'm putting this out and it's not on brand and the quality's not there, then don't even say I did it. Like I don't even want, just say a Full Sail student shot it. Nothing against Full Sail. Nothing against Full Sail.
Shots fired.
But if it's not like what we feel like we're proud of, that we'll turn it into a case study, then so that was really difficult to like put your pride aside, listen, and get these orders from. It's almost like they're talking at us, but you know that was an exercise in humility for us.
So plenty of time and money.
Yeah,
Always.
I guess. Yeah, it was worth it though.
Something I'll try to be brief. That I thought of as a few years ago, we worked with the Orlando Magic when they were selling their jersey patch to potential partners, and eventually they went with Disney. But the concept, we worked with an agency in town to create customized iPads that we're sending to CEOs of every company that could potentially pitch, and it was a broad reach. So every video was customized for each company. You know, basically every Fortune 500 company in America was considered, and then it was honed down to a list of 50, and then I think 25 got packages with custom jerseys with their patch embroidered on the front. And in the video, we had custom patches that we've replaced on the Magic jerseys, as well as on billboards in downtown Orlando, and all the banners by the arena that we did all that in post. And I think we did 25, something like that, unique versions of a video. So that was a really challenging but really fulfilling project because they got what they wanted. They wanted Disney, and they got Disney, and it was exciting to be part of that, and very challenging as well.
So, you guys just went through the bragging part. let's go back. In terms of having to get a client who was stuck, right? Like they wanted to go in a singular direction, we gotta like pivot this way. How did you help them work through it? What did you have to use? What techniques did you use to help them ultimately find either that middle ground or the right ground to deliver on what they're asking for, even though they're maybe fighting themselves?
I mean, I think, I can't think of a specific moment, but I think something that we try to do is we understand that they know much more about their product than we do. And allowing them to share that and to express that and go through a discovery process to understand that. But then trying to guide them to trust you more about the process of creating, for us, a video, because we know much more about that than they do. It doesn't always work. Some clients are they're going to be set to do the same thing, or they've done it 50 times that way, and that's what they're comfortable with, and that's how it's going to work out. But if a client, I think if you give them space to kind of make sure that you're respecting what they're bringing to the table, you're much more likely to get the space to help guide their creative process.
And that's a great point that Danny had about, they know more about their business than you do. And that's the same thing with us when we meet with businesses. We're meeting them for the first time, and they know their business inside and out. They've lived with it for 15 or 20 years. So, we make recommendations, and we make recommendations based on data. But if the client doesn't want to go in that direction, we're fine with that. I tell everybody, don't get too tied to your idea or offended. Like, keep it in a folder, and maybe it'll work for another client. So we push as hard as we can, but ultimately it's the client's decision, what direction they want to go.
I have a little bit of a different perspective on that. I mean, it all starts with strategy. When we sit across from each other, we establish the strategy and what the goals are, and we spend a lot of time on strategy so that when we get to like a sticking point, then we can, it's never my opinion, we always refer back to the strategy. Like we decided that this is the direction that we're gonna go, and then based off of that decision, we feel that this content is going to effectively, get us to where we wanna be. If they don't like that part, then, mock-ups and theatrics, you know what I mean? It's like, it could look like this, but if we did it this way, it could look like that, because, the strategy says that the demo is this, and if this is who we're trying to target, then they also, aside from your service, they also go here, they also go there, they also go there. We need to be where they are and kind of speak like their language. I always refer back to strategy. It's never like my opinion. It's always, based on the strategy, X, Y, Z.
So Frank, you've mentioned working from the data a few times. Where are your sources? Where are you finding this data? What's helpful?
Well, we actually use our set-top box data from our subscribers, and then we merge that with other data that we buy. So we can get a pretty clear picture of our cable viewers, because that's what we do. We run commercials on our ad insertable networks, and so that's how we do that. And then we have research teams that can pull that data and tell different stories based on what our needs like. Right now we're doing some cause marketing in Alabama. We're putting a Ford dealer together with the Humane Society in Birmingham, and we're going to feature shelter dogs in their creative. So that's that whole thing I mentioned earlier about having the social responsibility. So we're pitching to this Ford dealer to use the dealership as an adoption place on weekends to drive more store traffic, and use it as a drop-off point for donations too, and then partner with the Humane Society on some other things, and then use that for social media, things like that. So we're pulling data on truck owners and dogs, SUVs and dogs, sports cars and dogs and first-time car buyers, so that we can kind of tell a story and sell that to the Ford dealer. Why, Subaru's doing the campaign right now with dogs. So, we want to be able to tell that story to the Ford dealer and use data to inform that.
We filmed Puppy Bowl a few years ago. It's literally one of the best sets I've ever been on. We worked with the Pet Alliance, and it was fantastic to have that many puppies, but total chaos. You budget extra time. You have, absolutely. Okay, craziest shoot that you've been on. You guys went through like proud moments, but like, what's the weird? What's the wacky?
We did one with cats, which was, I think, maybe even crazier than dogs. They had to have one cat who could sit, one cat who could carry something, and one cat who would walk where you told it to walk. And then there was, I think it was another spare cat. And none of them did the job that they were supposedly professional at. That was just something.
I can't think of it. I can think of broken equipment.
We had one where we shot a wedding, and the mom was having her own wedding at the wedding.
What?
Right? So the mom had her own gown. She had to walk down by herself. So yeah, picture that.
Did she get married?
So we're in the dressing room and we're shooting, the bride preparation. You know how it goes. And then, I look and the mom's getting her gown zipped up. I'm like, why is she getting her gown zipped up? So she literally wore her wedding gown. She came down the aisle, and it was very interesting.
Did she get married to somebody?
No, she basically was doing bride activities, but it was her daughter's wedding. So and she wanted camera time. She's like, don't forget to get me when I come down the aisle. And I was like, your daughter has already gone. Okay, I'll get you. But she paid for it, so that's pay for your own wedding.
Gotta make the client happy.
Yeah, because if they're paying for your wedding, they get say so.
All right, before we go to questions, unless you had one, before we go to questions, 30-second pitch, it's part of the game. Let's get that magic plug moment, and then we'll take some questions from the audience.
Frank, you seem ready.
So we can handle commercials, long form. We can do training videos. We can do brand. We do a lot of brand work with businesses. We can help with social media calendars and social media content, vehicle wraps, you name it. So 2 or 3 years ago when we first started, we said we could do all of this, but we didn't have any work yet. But over the last few years, live streaming is another thing that we do. We've done a lot of multi-camera live streaming for Manatee Memorial Hospital, and we're doing one today in Reno, Nevada for another hospital that's opening up a critical care center. So we do a lot of that as well.
We're going to all say basically the same thing. So if you are looking for an extension of your current business, you have marketing goals that you want to accomplish, then we can take on that: film, photography, graphic design, branding, strategy, pay-per-clicks, SEO, the whole thing. Also, if you want to start a podcast, we can build your podcast from the ground up, get you on streaming platforms. We have a full-service podcast studio as a part of our office. That's basically it. You're going to say a version of what we just said.
I do everything they do, but better. I'm just kidding. We're a full-service video production company, so we do all that kind of stuff. Our big thing is storytelling and problem solving. We want to partner with your team to help you tell your story better, whatever video format that kind of ends up as. We work a lot directly with clients. We work with some agencies as well, but we really consider ourselves a video agency, so we do everything from conception to delivery.
Cool. All right, questions. Who's going to start?
You just mentioned SEO, so I had a question with content as it relates to SEO. What would you say are the current kind of the modern ways of handling that, as opposed to how things have changed over the last 20 years of Google and everything?
It depends on what you're communicating. The content is just a tool that's going to drive them to whether it's a landing page or social media or something like that. So it just depends on what you're trying to communicate. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So if you want to sell, I don't know, you want to sell lanyards. So you would then create content that would speak to that, people who like to go to conferences or people who put on conferences. It all boils down to who you're talking, who's it for and what's it for, basically. And then you build the content strategy around that. And then the landing page, you have to get your copy right so that the SEO you pull up on, Google, and you rank really high on it. So it boils down to the who it's for and what it's for.
How'd you get your first client?
My first client was a friend of my family whose one of their daughters was, this is the first paying client, was graduating from high school, and they wanted to make a video for her. And I was 17 or 18. I interviewed all of her friends, and I really liked getting paid to make videos. And I realized that I should probably keep trying to get paid when I made videos.
I think it was like the same thing. It was just a friend. I had a what was it called? It's not a GoPro. It was like rectangle. It was like a HD something. I shot a whole wedding with that. Once. But it was a wedding. Somebody was like, "Hey, you got a camera? Can you just get some behind the scenes stuff?" And then it just kind of turned it. And ironically, my big break was it was like a Battle of the Sexes game night. So it was like guys and girls. It started off all lovey-dovey, and then it turned into like a battle. And they were on the football field. They were like putting on face paint, and they were like training. And then it showed them kind of like chewing at the bit at each other, and had a pile of games in the middle of the football field. And ironically, it was in this building that the actual event, because this building has been a few different things, but the actual event was here. So that was like my big break. And then people saw that video, and then it was like, "Hey, could you," kind of like the same thing. I was like, "I like getting paid for this."
Well, our clients come to us through our account executives, so I don't really have a first-time client. But to date myself, when I started, my brother and I were shooting Super 8 film with a Bolex camera, and then I was working at Disney. I had to get a loan at the credit union for $1,200 to buy a VHS deck with a camera, a portable deck and a camera, and take out a loan to buy a VHS deck, and we're shooting with that.
So video production has, in some cases, become a race to the bottom in terms of production costs, because everybody with a camera wants to claim that they can do it. You guys have established companies and developed a reputation. How much of your company, and I kind of know your answer, but how much of your companies are full-time staff, and how much do you rely on 1099 employees as a gig economy? Because there's an awful lot of shooting that nowadays happens with people reaching out to their, I'll use the antiquated Rolodex, and trying to find crew to staff up a particular job. And so depending on your marketing and how much business you have in a pipeline, keeping people on staff is an expensive proposition.
3 of us are full-time, and then everyone else is 1099.
And about how many people? Like,
it's 7 of us.
do you have a Rolodex? I mean, you got a crew of people that you go to?
I'm really picky. So if I find, where's Marcia? Marcia is one of my amazing teammates. If she doesn't think you're good, then I don't want to work with you. That's the standard over there. Yeah.
We're four full-time, and then we staff up from there. I mean, our office is set up so we have multiple editing stations. We bring in editors on projects. Obviously, I think most of my experience from shooting, most people staff up crews with freelance grips and camera operators, gaffers, that sort of thing. And so for a company of our size, it makes a lot of sense to have kind of a core team, and then as work ebbs and flows, to be able to staff up. So we can staff up pretty quickly. At our busiest, I think if we're shooting and editing a lot of projects, we might be 15 or 16 people in the office, but that's usually for sort of a tighter window when we're putting multiple videos out the door. He's got a lot.
like over 60 people in the South, but our philosophy is to work with our biggest spending clients to drive more core revenue, and then the clients like Joe's Carpet Cleaning. We're actually using self-provisioning tools. There's a company called Waymark that we use where a client can go to Waymark for $99 and get a commercial made. They enter their business name and location, and Waymark scrubs the internet for images. And then you enter there are text boxes to enter copy, and it has a licensed music library, and you pick different templates, and the commercial's done in a couple minutes. And so we have some self-provisioning options that start at $99 and go up to like $500. And we actually have to constantly promote ourselves and what our differentiator is to our account executives, because the account executives go outside of us and use freelancers and outside production companies. So we're always selling ourselves to our own account executives for them to use us, and our differentiator is the access to data that we have.
If I can make one shameless plug, I mean, all the crew, and if you're not, filmorlando.com, we've got our talent database on there, so it's free for everyone to sign up as long as you can prove that you've been a professional in that field. We can get you signed up so we can access all the crew that's here. So Lindsay, who runs the Film Commission, it's amazing. We have a team come in, they want to know who are our editors, who are our cam ops, who are our grips. They quickly just call us, we show them the book that's now online. I used to produce the physical book. We show them the directory, and they can access it. They see everybody's resumes, everything that they've done, and we're able to get them exactly who they need right away. So it's really effective and exciting that we have that tool in our region.
I have one. For like independent work, how long did it take you to start storyboarding, and how often do you do it now?
Depends on the budget. If a client really wants it, I mean, it's an expensive and complicated process. So we've always done some manner of storyboarding. It depends on timelines and budget for a client. So we do some sort of pre-visualization quite a bit, whether it's literally just talking through or mood board or video examples, that kind of stuff. But a full storyboard is a complicated and expensive process. And I think the type of budgets we tend to work with, oftentimes it's off the table.
Yeah, I would say the same. We do some sort of pre-pro, but for the most part, it just depends on the overall project.
Yeah, and it depends on the client spend. We do have dedicated storyboard artists and script writers and designers, and so they do a lot of internal brand work for our company, but they're also available for our clients. And so if the spend is there, or if it's an important client and we want to really impress them, we'll do storyboards for them and do, a nice pitch. So it just, again, depends on what the client's spending.
I have a question, another one. Oh, so have you ever had a time where your video wasn't good enough for your client and then you had to redo it?
Do you mean like we literally threw it away? And
Oh, like you had to like scrap, like
the whole
reshoot?
thing?
No, not the whole
Reshoot?
thing, but just redo
Yeah.
shoots, or like their expectations were different than
all
when
the
you
time.
delivered?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. Like, clients come into something thinking they want one thing and finding out they want something else. We recently shot something quite large for quite a large client of ours that cost a huge amount of money, and they absolutely scrapped the entire project. And then then they hired us to make a completely different project in its place. That's a totally different concept. So weird stuff like that, and it was a very big, very complicated project. Weird stuff like that happens all the time. If it's our fault, we do whatever we can to make it right with the client. We try to prevent additional spending where possible. But if it's not our fault, then we just have to have hard conversations with the client. And in most of our experience, it's come from when they see the product, they're like, we were actually thinking of something different, and we didn't express it correctly or something. So,
if they're that nice to take responsibility.
well, yeah, for sure, and that happens too.
Yeah, one of the keys is to work closely with your client and keep them involved every step of the way, so that, to Danny's point, you know, it wasn't what they were envisioning. You know, keep them involved every step of the process, so you guys are, you know, in step. We did a project last year for a national company called Flexential, and it was a series of onboarding videos. And we dropped the ball. We had some audio problems. We had some soft focus shots, and then nobody was really in charge of their wardrobe. And we shot it on like the coldest day of the year. And this is like a year-round onboarding video, and they're wearing boots up to their knees and turtleneck sweaters. So it's like, you know, somebody, you got to watch those things, and so.
Just the obligatory future question. How do you see your industry changing in what you do? What are you most excited about in those changes in the next 5 years? If I can suggest one, you know, the deep fake, which you can put anybody's likeness and anybody's voice on any footage that you shoot. Do you think that'd be kind of weird to work with if you want Morgan Freeman to do a spot for you, but it's just you capture some audience, actor's performance, and then you just in post put Morgan Freeman on it? That's one example. What do you got? What else are you guys excited about?
I tell people, if you could have gotten into YouTube when YouTube first launched, that's what Instagram TV is right now. If you're not taking advantage of the vertical format of Instagram TV, then you're missing like a really big opportunity to be a part of something that could potentially be huge in the future. I mean, I went to YouTube University. I have a master's degree at YouTube University. I learned everything I know from experience in YouTube, but Instagram TV is going to be really big in the next 5 years. So if you can, just start creating that, you know, vertical format video now, just so you can already have stuff on there. You have the swipe up feature without having to have 10,000 followers. You can hyperlink one thing in the description. It's like really powerful, and you should take advantage of it. If you take anything from me from this talk, Instagram TV is the future, and you should take advantage.
I gotta get Instagram TV. Regarding deepfake stuff specifically, I have my lead editor Drew is obsessed with it, and so we've talked about it quite a bit. And I think ultimately, it's not something that we would, in any format I could think of in the near future, work with that sort of software in a real thing, because we're trying to strive towards authenticity. But it is very challenging to imagine what our 5 years from now digital media landscape looks like because of technology like that. And you know, like I went to some VR talk earlier, and because of how VR and 360 is sort of coming on into ways that don't make you sick, and then it's fantastic, actually. I've had VR experiences that are really fantastic because of that. So the world 5 years from now and what we do is constantly changing. Even interactive video and things like that are coming on really strong. So it's hard to imagine. I think that the core of what we do applies to any of those things. And that's sort of what helps me to sleep when I'm worried about the guy inventing the next video and taking our clients. Yeah.
And speaking of deepfake, I'm really not even here right now. This is some virtual. We saw Walter's talking about vertical video and Instagram video. Adobe is releasing an upgrade to Premiere soon. We got to see a demo of it last month, where if you shoot something in 16:9, you can choose the aspect ratio that you want, and then it uses artificial intelligence to find the key part of every shot and then reformat it as a square video or a vertical video. So it'll do that automatically for you. So that's launching soon. No, you don't. It's pretty amazing. And then what you can do too, if it misses something, you can go back in to a particular shot and just adjust the keyframes to bring it in.